Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming today. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Supervisor Moore.
Present.
Councilwoman McNamara.
Present.
Councilman Iacilli.
Present.
Councilman Pell.
Present.
Councilman Martell.
Present.
Thank you. We're going to start the meeting today with a special treat honoring our friend and amazing citizen of the town, Robert Ross. I'm going to go up to the podium and just, Robert, would you join me, please? And we certainly want pictures before you leave, so don't sneak out.
And Colleen's going to be taking pictures as well.
I'm just going to read a little bit because it's so impressive. I want everyone to hear about it. Okay. After building his home on a 1-acre parcel that Robert purchased for $24,000, Robert immediately began establishing himself as a pillar of Hampton Bays and the East End. He first enlisted in the Hampton Bays Civic Association and soon went on to join over a dozen organizations, serving them at various times over the past 4 decades. The extensive list includes the Hampton Bays Citizen Advisory Committee, the Hampton Bays Volunteer Ambulance Corps, and the Rotary Club of Southampton. In 2002, Robert was tapped to join and serve as Southampton Town Deputy Supervisor in the administration of then-Town Supervisor Patrick Skip Heaney. Chief among his accomplishments are the successful efforts to keep the 106th Rescue Wing of the Air National Guard stationed in West Hampton and the return of the Big Duck to the hamlet of Flanders. Robert's community impacts continued while he became Vice President of Community and Government Relations at Stony Brook Southampton Hospital, a post he would serve in for the next 17 years. Then he oversaw the festivities for the hospital's centennial anniversary, the recovery and donation of Jacqueline Kennedy's birth records to the John F. Kennedy Presidential Library in Boston, and he helped facilitate the hospital's merger with Stony Brook Medicine. I personally love that story about Jackie O's birth records.
This is incredible.
In a fitting tribute, the town board has chosen to honor Robert and publicly thank him for his longevity, work, and friendship over the years. With his official retirement on May 29th, he will be much missed on the public stage. But this milestone occasion offers not only more time with Larry, but also the enthusiasts of the Automobile License Plate Collectors Association, where Robert has made significant and original contributions to the field, including winning approval for the New York State 9/11 Memorial License Plate after 15 years of his advocacy for that. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the town board of the town of Southampton hereby joins with an appreciative community in presenting this proclamation to Robert Ross, and in so doing extends to him our congratulations, our thanks, and best wishes. He is a man truly worthy of the day's honor, and may you enjoy much health and happiness in the years to come. Would you like to say a few words?
And a little tidbit as you hand this to me.
wants a picture with the entire board.
Of course. And maybe all the team here.
I was the town clerk, he was the deputy supervisor.
And a little tidbit. Years ago, we used to give these proclamations in horrible, cheap frames. And one day, we actually got something from the county, a proclamation the town did. And it was in this beautiful folder. So I called up the county executive's office and spoke with someone there. Where did you get these folders made? And thus, all these years later, we now have these folders. So I was also responsible for the folders.
Thank you very much for that.
And I'm trying to put them back in nice frames. Not cheap frames, nice frames.
Right, so I wanted you
So,
to know that. So how we
Let's have a
gonna do-
picture with the
let's
board
get
and then maybe we can
everybody,
shift
Paul
over.
and Sunday, and Jimmy, come up the town attorney, all my colleagues and friends.
One last one. Thank you.
And Kim's gonna take some for me. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
want
get
to
all
shift
the
over
guys
so we
to
can all
come in.
fit in the picture?
Yeah, let's get a big picture.
Wide lens.
Congratulations.
Come on, guys. Robert?
I go way back to when we used to go to 2 o'clock in the morning in the snow. 2 in the morning in the snow. Yeah, right, exactly.
Oh, you
Thank
are
you.
something.
Did
I
you
hope
wanna
you
say
can
some
say a
words?
few words to us? Yes, go up. That's very nice.
Congratulations.
So I'd like to just take a minute and certainly thank the supervisor and the members of the town board and all the folks from the public safety office that came out. This is really, really very bittersweet. Some of you may know that I was the chairman of the town's Public Safety Commission from its inception in 2009 through when I retired from that board at the end of December in 2023. So I was there for a long, long time and really enjoyed that. That was one of the boards, actually, when people would leave us, they'd actually send letters to the town and in appreciation for how we handled their situation. And John, Chief Fire Marshal, will tell you that the purpose of that board really wasn't just to issue fines to people because their alarms went off. The purpose of that board and what we created, our own mission, was to help people not have alarm fines in the future. And we actually sent the fire marshal to people's houses, say, well, why did that alarm go off in your kitchen? Oh, well, we have the smoke detector above the stove. Well, what do you think's gonna happen? And and after a while, these fines, they don't pay them, and the fines go bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So the fire marshal's office would go, and they'd actually tell them, no, you need to move this, and that's that and the other. And if they'd submit paperwork to us saying they actually did what the town asked them to do, we'd cancel all of that. And that really was the purpose when I was the chairman of how we wanted to react. There's so many things. I'm so proud of this town. Coming out here in this late 70s, 79 actually. And a funny story, Maria will laugh about this, I suppose. I once wrote this article for Hampton Bay's beautification newsletter. People say, well, how did you end up here? Well, I had never been in the Hamptons at all. I had a lot of friends that would come out in the old days to the group houses. And one day they said to me, well, why don't you come out to the Hamptons? I said, the Hamptons? How do I even get there? I said, well, go on the Long Island Expressway and get off exit 70, and then you go onto the Sunrise Highway. What is that? And I did that, and we're driving on the road, and the first exit, of course, and then their motto became the first Hampton, West Hampton. And I saw the sign, West Hampton. And I'm like, I don't think I should get off the first Hampton. Let's see what's after that. And then after that was East Quogue. And I said, that's not a Hampton. Hampton's not a Hampton. It says East Quogue. So I said, that can't be it. Then we go a little further, Hampton Bays. And we get off at Hampton Bays, and that's it. And we had lunch at Villa Paul. That was the first restaurant we ever ate in, which is still there and still wonderful. And the rest became history. Then we finally moved out here full time, and a lot of history. I was in this room. I was on the assessment review board for a couple of years. I was in this very room on 9/11 of 2001. We were coming to to go over all of the decisions that we had taken and to confirm all of that. And we were actually in this room, sitting at that table, when 9/11 occurred, and we turned the television on, and we just couldn't believe what we were watching. So it happened exactly in this room that we saw it. People say, "Where were you on 9/11?" In the Southampton town boardroom. So it's been a long journey. I'm thrilled. I really appreciate it. I've gone through so many supervisors, going back to Marty Lang. Some of you may know him, some of you may not know Marty Lang. He was the first supervisor I knew, all the way to Maria. And it's just been wonderful, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to do this for me and let me co-op your meeting for a few minutes. So thank you all. Appreciate it.
So I want to quick tell my Robert Ross story if I can. You know, there's a lot of things, living in Hampton Bays, there's a lot of times you run into Robert, but he is a man ahead of his time. The net that he throws out through the town of Southampton is a large one. I'm president of the Hampton Bays Little League, and years ago, Robert came to me with the idea of having someone donate some AEDs to the Hampton Bays Little League. If you look now in the papers just this week, Nassau County has just mandated that any field that has use of both 500 kids or more for ball games, whatever sport they may be, have to have a defibrillator there. So we have actually had them. We've renewed the batteries, all donated through friends of Robert's. He's taken care of the whole process, and our kids in Hampton Bays have been 100 times safer over the last 6 years because of that. So thank you, Robert.
That particular friend actually donated AEDs to, I believe, every police car in Southampton town, and has renewed them also because the batteries go after a number of years and they're expensive, as well as Southampton Village. So I have friends with a lot of big hearts, and they also want to do whatever they can to protect the community. Thanks.
Thank you,
Thank you
Robert.
for that story.
That was very nice.
All right, let's move on with our meeting. I move to approve the minutes from the board meeting of June 24th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Madam Clerk, would you please read the communications?
We have received the following communications in the office of the town clerk. We have received public notices from the Suffolk County Department of Economic Development and Planning regarding aquaculture lease program in Peconic and Gardeners Bays. New York State Liquor Authority 30-day advance notice to local municipality from the listed applicants and correspondence, emails, and letters regarding the following: County Road 39 pilot program, MRTA legislation, New York State DOT proposed roadway improvements in Watermill, Poxabog Field CPF designation, proposed planting restrictions for front and side yards, proposed rezone of certain parcels in Hampton Bays, and a planning board notice of hearing for July 10th for 94 Dune Road East Quad. Bid and request for proposals were received on July 2nd at 2 p.m. There were no bidders for the purchase of 1 or 2 Jews Dry van trailers and the bid for Mill Creek Boat Ramp. Following reports were filed from the town comptroller, the June 2025 monthly financial reports, and from the town fire districts, the 2024 audited financial filings according to town law. Eastport, North Sea, and Riverhead fire districts filed. And that concludes the communications for this meeting's agenda.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, that brings us to our first public hearing. Madam Clerk, would you, first and only public hearing, would you please read the notice?
Public hearing number 1 for amendments to Town Code, Chapter 143, Article 1, entitled Licensing of Home Improvement Contractors to further refine application and appeals procedures.
Good afternoon, Supervisor Moore, members of the Town Board, Assistant Town Attorney Sean Cambridge. So as you'll all recall, we had adopted some revisions to Section 143, and we've lived with them for about 1.5 years at this point. We did complete a public work session on these amendments. These were suggestions from the folks that are doing this work day to day. They have made recommendations for slight changes. Nothing is too crazy, and we've discussed each and every element of these changes at the work session. If the board's inclined, we can schedule a resolution to adopt, and I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Sean.
Sean, I have a question. Can you explain how this law aims to clarify the hearing of complaints against some of the home improvement contractors?
Sure. So one of the things the board had actually asked for specifically, right now, there's a procedure in place where they can take no action, suspend, or revoke. And the board has asked you all to basically set parameters that they can issue warnings, issue up to 6-month suspensions, and up to 1-year revocations to define those boundaries.
Who's issuing the warnings?
The Public Safety Commission. So they wanted that ability to offer a first warning, which they never had before, and then a set suspension period and a set revocation period. That helps us in a couple different ways. Number one, we have to update the website when people are suspended, revoked, etc. That time period allows us to do that definitively and have a meaningful suspension or revocation period. Also, the ability to issue a warning is unique because, a lot of times the person who has a complaint against them is a contractor who has performed and been licensed and has done all the things they're supposed to do for a lengthy period of time, sometimes 10, 20, 30 years. So right out of the gate, if there is a violation or finding where they haven't done something they're supposed to do, the board wants to give them that first chance and a chance at redemption to issue a warning. If this is an isolated incident and they've tried to make that situation right, the board doesn't want to feel like they have to suspend or revoke.
How often is the Public Safety Commission issuing warnings to contractors that are violating?
Well, now none. Now it's no action, suspend, or revoke.
So this actually puts a process in place that now sends a warning
Correct.
from the commission itself.
Right.
This law also adds a provision requiring a renewal process every 2 years.
So they're annual renewals, but information updates every 2 years. And the rationale behind that is people doing business in the state of New York must update their corporate records with Department of State every 2 years. So we want to track when they're updating those records. And on a 2-year basis that coincides with the state licensing, have them update our records. So in the middle renewal period, there's no additional information required. And then when their registration number, things like that are updated, we want those updates.
Okay, section 143-5, part D says that license number, and it underlines, I think it's adding, any other valid proof of license.
Mm-hmm.
What does that count for? Does that mean if somebody just has a Suffolk County license, that'll suffice?
Yeah, so we were taking those as part of our application process to try to streamline this procedure. So we're taking that license as proof in this application process. So you're not resubmitting everything.
So if somebody has a Suffolk County license posted on their vehicle, their contractor, that's fine.
They're using that to apply for our license.
It's not in lieu of our license, it's as support
It's
for
to
us to issue a license?
Yes, to streamline our process.
Got
We're
it.
not making them do a full, Suffolk County's asking for these same parameters. So we're simply basically providing them a sticker type of mentality on us. So they pay the fee, they don't fill out another application, and the county has all that
Now,
information.
who's reviewing all this information when it goes?
Department of Land Management is doing this over the counter. Previously, our structure was that the board would approve all new licenses and renewals. And the problem with that is they only meet quarterly. So you'd have someone, say their employer lets them go, and they decide, I'm going to do this on my own. They'd have to wait a full business quarter to obtain a license.
Sean, is it the building department?
Yes, land management in general, it is the building department counter physically.
And are they able to accommodate this additional review process?
These were their suggestions.
Okay.
Based on their review process.
Okay.
When we had the work session, Sean, there were a few items that came up that we discussed to be addressed in some revisions. And when, at the last meeting, when we set this public hearing, I had a couple of questions of things that weren't there, that I didn't think were there.
Okay.
And Jim indicated that they were so minor that it wouldn't require renoticing the meeting, but I did want to just address them. And the first one is section 143-4 on the application. And I see where you've got here now, we're adding that the licenses can be renewed annually unless it's expired for 2 years or more, then a new number has to be applied for. But then in paragraph B, it says a complete and updated set of documents are required every 2 years. So I think that, so that doesn't get, lost in it's in another section, I would ask that we put in 143-4A, where it says it would be renewed annually, subject to the requirements of 143-5B. That way, because right now, the way it reads, if I were reading it as a contractor, I would think I can renew it annually every year, unless it had expired. But really, that's not true. It's like you can renew it every year, but after the second year, you have to submit all the documents. So,
I believe that's what was intended. This draft was prepared by the Land Management Division, but we certainly will prepare the resolution of adoption and include that provision.
okay. And then the other thing is in that paragraph B, 143-4B, where it says the last sentence that you're adding, and it says a complete and updated set of documentation. I thought it should say a complete and updated application and set of documentation, if you agree, because it looks like the application is where you find out whether there's any outstanding liens or judgments or any convictions. So if we just asked for the documents, we wouldn't necessarily know that.
Right, we wouldn't capture all that additional activity. That is what we're looking for.
Yeah, so can we add
So we certainly can.
updated application and? And the only other thing was, in the procedure 143-12D. And this might have been intentional or an oversight, but where we said that if somebody's license is suspended or revoked, it reads now that we may indicate that on the town's website. And there was some discussion of whether we should change that to shall, so that people would know from looking at the website if somebody's license has been revoked or
I
suspended.
mean, I happen to agree with that suggestion, so we can certainly change that on the resolution. Again, this was noticed by, this was the ask of the Land Management Division. We'll make those tweaks and schedule a resolution accordingly.
Okay, great, thank you. And the part about the, we were gonna make a certain number of stickers available for the vehicles, but over and above a certain amount, we were gonna charge. Is that something that should be in the? It's on the fee schedule. It's on the fee schedule. Thank you, Janice. All right, great.
Supervisor, can you just give those changes that you want to Sean so you can, you got them?
Ah. Thank you.
It's more than it
Figured
looks.
this way you know it's.
Yeah. All right, so I don't have any cards for this public
What are
hearing.
we gonna do with this? Do we gonna close? Are we keeping it open?
Just gonna see if there's any comments. Is anybody on Zoom, Kevin?
No one on Zoom.
I'd like to close it.
I'd like to close. I moved it, since there's no comments, or I'd like to close the public hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. All right, great. Thank you, Sean and Janice. That brings us to the public portion of the meeting. And I do have some cards for that. The first one is Eileen McPhalen.
Eileen McPhalen, Hampton Bays.
Eileen,
Yes. Hi.
welcome.
Madam Supervisor and council people, first I want to say thank you for the system and how well it works. Thank you for your time, all of you, for the time that you put in addressing all the concerns of our town, but especially I want to say thank you for how you address concerns of Hampton Bays. It is much appreciated.
Oh, you're very welcome.
I want to say thank you also for the code that you're updating on tree removal. I remember many, many years ago when there was building going on, maybe 30-something years ago, when building was getting extensive in Hampton Bays and trees were going down. And then it was brought up that nobody's taking care of that. Trees are being removed, nobody's replacing them, blah, blah, blah. And I was very sure there was a law on the books in Southampton about that situation. But apparently there wasn't, and so I'm very pleased that now something is in law. Thank you very much for that. Question about the, when I read about the parking with the powwow situation, I don't know if that's been resolved or decided yet. And my thought is if you're not allowing them to use the Westwood property, which I have no problem with that decision, are you offering any place where parking can be, and where has the parking been in the past for the powwow?
I can just say that it wasn't parking for the powwow. It was for a music festival that happened, and it's over and it's done, and everything went really well.
The powwow is always on.
The powwow has always been parking on the reservation.
Okay, all good. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next is Gail Lombardi. And I was reminded that I want to be telling people 3 minutes. Let's try to keep it.
I'm going to try to keep it to 3, but I have prepared, so give me a little leeway with the vision loss. But I do want to reiterate Eileen's comments. You know, we had Rick, Bill, and Mike at the civic meeting, and it's and all of you, very refreshing how you're addressing the issues in Hampton Bays. So I do thank you. But let me try to get to the prepared comments. Okay, I came specifically to publicly commend the town board members that support the Shinnecock lawsuit for the grace under pressure and professional restraint that you had at the last meeting of the barrage of verbal grenades of false accusation tossed at you during the last town board meeting from the Shinnecock Nation's representative, especially Supervisor Moore. A very smart litigator said to the former supervisor during my litigation that no one wants to sue, but when you feel like there's someone that has their foot on your throat, you are given no choice. You did not start a war. You did what you needed to do to protect the residents of Hampton Bays, the town, and the environment. From day one, it seemed to me that it was clear to me that the only negotiations that the Shinnecock Nation leadership was interested in was for everyone to agree with them. That's my first set of comments. Second set, not as kind. On a separate issue, the ghost of Schneiderman still seems to roam town hall when it comes to arbitrary zoning and planning process. I see you have the rezoning of the Montauk Highway properties on the town board agenda. I am not surprised. I suspect it will be adopted, and I'm not going to labor the point. I sent in my comments very specifically. For the record, I want to state that it may solve the problem with the lack of a buffer from the village business to highway business, but there were outstanding questions of the unintended consequences, including the residential build-out. It is my assertion that the planners and other town officials often fail to fully vet zoning and planning, address the unintended consequences of their recommendations, and interject some of their personal biases into the town zoning and planning. I have no confidence in some of the provisions of the pattern book and even the best zoning, no matter how many reiterations those documents went through. On that note, I also want to raise the issue of the diner. It would seem to me that there was, again, an obsession with the original plans of that diner site with the Good Ground Road bypass that we dubbed the bypass to nowhere. That was the Southampton Press. We were informed that there was a proposal for a hotel diner at the diner site several years ago that was rejected by the planners and the Schneiderman administration before it even gained traction to make a way for their precious bypass to nowhere. When the bypass was abandoned, the owners had to pivot and plans for 2 commercial buildings. Now it appears that the construction of the diner site is non-existent since its demolition. I certainly hope it is not the ghost of a Schneiderman bypass to nowhere or some obsession with a proposed traffic circle that's holding up the process. Thank you for your time.
We'll look into what's the status of that diner property and get back to you, Gail. I don't know offhand.
It's moving forward.
Yeah, but I mean,
Professional.
what's going on with the planning board?
Thank you for the first part.
Yeah, thank you.
And
All right.
Gail, if I remember correctly too, I think it was Jay's plan at the time to shift the hotel motel to the eastern portion of that property, and we were going to abandon the CPF town-owned piece of property, kind of switch them around so that the bypass could go through. All that became just way too complicated and, and not something they wanted to do in Hampton Bays, so it was abandoned totally.
All right. Next speaker is Catherine Bucci.
Bill, do you have something to do with Lynn Avenue at one time?
yes.
I think we want to have from you. Okay,
Behind
unrelated to why I'm here.
Behind Seascape Cottages.
Yeah, that's funny. Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you, members of the board, for the opportunity to speak here today. I'd like to raise 2 important connected issues that are affecting all of us: traffic congestion and allowable construction work hours. As we all know, Southampton town traffic from West Hampton Beach to Bridgehampton is growing worse every year. A 5-mile drive can take 45 minutes. That's just beyond inconvenient. It's a drain on our time, our well-being, and our quality of life. In my view, the key contributors to this worsening traffic is the Town Code 235-4, which currently allows construction work from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturday, and, to my shock, Sunday. That translates to construction noise is allowed 7 days a week, up to 12 hours a day. I have to ask, how did such an inconsiderate code ever get passed? And where is the protection for the majority of the residents and taxpayers? I implore you to really think about that. Residents who live near a construction site are subjected to nonstop pounding, sawing, bulldozing, beeping, morning to night, 7 days a week, often for months, sometimes years. There's no day off, no holidays, no peace, no quiet. On top of that, thousands of extra cars and trucks from construction crews are already on our backed up roads, especially on the weekends when we should be able to enjoy our time off, trying to get where we want to visit in a timely fashion. So I ask, where is the quality of life being considered by our local government? Why should a majority of residents sacrifice their peace and comfort so that a minority can do renovations without any restrictions 7 days a week? Currently, I live next to a lot undergoing major outdoor construction. Since October, I've endured daily digging, pounding, rolling, screeching, saw cutting, backup beeping from heavy machinery, concrete trucks, dust blowing, 7 days a week. Some days my house has literally shaken from what's going on over there. And this noise pollution travels 4 houses down the block and 4 behind me. And that's not even in front where the job is going on, or on the other sides. I don't even know those people. Now that the summer is here, it's so loud that I was compelled to come here today, that I cannot use my yard. I can not invite friends over, not even on the weekends. and this job is permitted to continue until March 2027. And to be clear, I'm not blaming the neighbors. They're doing everything by code. The problem is the code themselves. The towns have spent a lot of energy debating leaf blowers or music from a bar or restaurant or your neighbors, but those are temporary. Construction noise is long-term and deeply disruptive, yet it's allowed 12 hours a day. I strongly believe the majority of residents would support a weekend ban on construction work for the summer season from Memorial Day to Labor Day. Limiting construction work to 5 days a week for this short period still allows 60 hours of work. That is more than enough, while still giving residents a noise break and reducing weekend congestion. Additionally, we need
30 seconds.
we need an update to the noise code to reflect the reality of prolonged construction noise. Adjacent properties cannot be allowed to overcome their neighbors for 12 hours a day, 365 days a week. With these changes, at least one could look forward to the weekend. These steps would make a meaningful difference in traffic, noise, and overall livability in Southampton.
3 minutes.
And finally, I ask, how can I work with the town to bring these changes forward? I want to be part of the solution and support a better balance between development and livability in Southampton. Thank you for your time and service to the community.
Thank you.
Actually, I agree with you.
Thank you.
But
Like I said, I mean, it's not.
if you give your phone number to Kim, we'll get a hold of you.
Okay, that would be great.
Catherine, I just want to say thank you for your comments. Actually, last year we established a traffic safety and mitigation task force, and it was actually one of the ideas of our highway superintendent to look at work hours, and it was actually included in our final report. So it is something that I've been personally interested in, and I would be happy to work with you on that, and we'll reach out to you.
Okay, so if I need to get petitions or whatever is needed, I'm not a person to stir the pot and then not want to help out, so.
Is it a lot on behind you? 'Cause
Yeah, it's on Major's Path.
Okay.
3 tennis courts, which like in every high society magazine, I've never heard of somebody putting in 3 tennis courts. And who would think tennis courts could be so much noise and so much time, but
Yeah.
it's really, I guess to get everything level, it's absolutely incredible. And I came because I can't just be the only one. I mean, where the jobs are going on, everybody, the people surrounded. And I know people want to do work. I've done work too, so I want to be reasonable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Tom Garber.
Tom?
Hello, everybody. Tom Garber, Hampton Bays. Hope everybody's enjoying their summer. I've got one thing to say. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The long, slow legal slog to find out the use of Westwoods is fundamental for our community to get a relationship back with the Shinnecock Nation, as well as to hopefully maintain a neighborhood feeling. And it's going to take years and a long time and a big commitment of money, but it is so fundamental, and thank you so much for sticking with it.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Lynn Murcott. And you know who's after that.
She always does that to me, the mean one.
I see you brought your older sister with you today.
She's the older. And I got the diamond ring.
I don't know if you know the tradition, the oldest girl gets the diamond ring when the mother passes. I mean, she beat me by 5 minutes in one day, but.
I was actually born before midnight and her 5 minutes after, but they decided we should have the same birthday, which I hate because she hates parties and I love them. But in any case, can you start my 3 minutes now?
I didn't even start yet. I'm enthralled by the.
I also want to thank the town board for not only everything, you definitely see the improvements in Hampton Bays that we've never seen before. And, thank you for all the work and what you're putting in there and everything. Most of all, though, the Westwoods property. I'm sorry, I was at the last meeting, and I'm sorry that the nation feels that their sign should be removed because the town is at war with them. I think it's very understandable that we, living in the town, believe that you know, that you just can't do that with Westwood's property. You know, that there are many court cases and everything else. I think it finally has to be resolved by removing the sign. I mean, in labor courses, you never asked for something to be taken down or stopped, because once you walk out of a room, it's sort of embarrassing to have to crawl back in if you need to. And you could be the very town board and everything that has to decide on what exactly happens with Westwoods, depending on how the courts rule. But I know also it's a lot of money for the town, but you're doing the right thing, because this is something that has not, it's been decided by the courts over and over again, but it needs to definitely be, go wherever it has to be to have a final determination on what can be done with Westwoods. I don't believe that that should be called a war, you know, between the town. You're representing the community, you're representing the nation also, because there is no clear answer as to what can be done on Westwoods. And I think everybody needs to know that. Particularly, I know there's a lot of people who work in the town. You know, they work on committees from the nation and everything. We do not want to be bad neighbors, you know, and I don't think they do either. So I think it's important. I think it's important that the sign stays, and I know you've already ruled on that, but I think it's important to them too, because this isn't a war. It's just something that needs to be defined. And again, I thank you, because I know it's a long road ahead. So I thank you for that.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
All right, Joseph Lusberg. Thank you, Bill.
Hi, my name is Joseph Lusberg. I'm speaking on behalf of Mott's Green Grocer, 93 East Montauk Highway, Hampton Bays. It's very surprising that this town vote is even happening today. You know, there was supposed to be a 2-week public comment period. It was not posted on the town board yesterday or the day before that, because I checked. And it was posted this morning. Seems like it's a surprise to rezone our property and specifically come after me and my family and my business. Our SAPA rights have been violated here. You know, secret determination is not sufficient. You haven't given sufficient time to review the comment period. Supposedly, before a vote, a comment period is supposed to happen. You know, this will drastically affect many business owners on that highway. You know, I really oppose this and drastically plead with the board to vote not in favor of this rezoning. You know, we've expressed our concerns. I know that the Office of Cannabis Management has reached out to you guys regarding any issues with our property. You know, it meets all state guidelines, meets all town guidelines. We are in full compliance. You know, if you measure from door to door, unlike the building inspector did, which is the state guidelines in the Office of Cannabis Management Law, according to the MRTA, that we are 623 feet and meet all guidelines there. And then this rezoning is now happening. That was brought up 10 years ago. Seems very rushed. Seems very targeted. The process through normal government has not been taken here. And we'd advise you to vote against this. Really, for us as business owners, we want to be a part of this community. We want to be speaking to you guys, bringing tax revenue to this community, helping out with local initiatives, being a part of community events. You know, our business is a very legitimate business, and we should be treated like every other business out there. And we have not been by this town. This town has delayed us, has thrown us from department to department, has come up with reason for reason why we cannot operate there because of pushback from, you know, local people who are in these meetings every single week, and you know them on a first name basis.
30 seconds.
It is been a very painstaking process. The fact that this town has now tried to rezone this property to us is a clear violation of our rights. All right, so I'm here to see what happens today. Obviously, this town board has seen a lot of things and many opposition as well. But your supervisor showed me this property. A town official told me this property was
3
a
minutes.
viable solution. That means something. Your town official showed me on your software that this is a viable solution to open my business. I signed a legal contract with a landlord in this town, knowing that I can operate my business out of that because it is zoned highway business. You are violating every right I have. My First Amendment right, my secret rights, SAGA. That's it.
Sorry, am I on Zoom?
Hey, Jim, you want to answer any of those questions?
No.
Was it this supervisor? Was a former supervisor?
Oh, it was, yeah. I mean, I'm not even familiar with what happened there.
You can't go back up.
It certainly, I don't know anything about that, so, I mean, I'm sure it wasn't the current supervisor. So,
All right, Kevin, is there anyone on Zoom for public portion?
No one on Zoom.
Thanks, everyone. I move to close public portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Move forward with the resolution.
Town Board Resolution 2025-814. This is a notice of public hearing to enact Chapter 233 entitled Tree Preservation. I'd like to make a motion to table.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, we're gonna have more conversations, right? We're gonna meet with Janice.
Yeah, I sent an email actually yesterday to Janice with some updates. We're working with Sean Cambridge. We're gonna bring Ryan into the conversation as well, just to make sure all of our departments are on the same page.
Thank you.
What date would you like to table it to?
The next meeting is fine.
Next meeting.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks, Bill.
Town Board Resolution 2025-836, to authorize the supervisor to sign an extended contract with Mac Tech Engineering and Geology PC for the Damascus Road landfill site.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-872, co-sponsored by Councilman Martell, to authorize the 2025 contributions to Volunteer Ambulance Worker Trust Fund.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 2025-873, authorized change order for road drainage improvement at Lighthouse Road with Rosemar Contractor, Inc.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Town Board Resolution 2025-874, to authorize the purchase of computers for police vehicles from Island Tech Services LLC using Omnia Partners contract and New York State OGS contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-875, authorized purchase of competence, Weissman concrete, asphalt mix, and coal patch using New York State OSGS contract.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Town Board Resolution 2025-876, to authorize purchases of construction, maintenance, and repair of masonry, metal, and other various structures with Enicon Northeast Applied Polymer Services, Inc., using Town of Hempstead contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-877, to authorize purchases of office supplies and workplace solutions from Staples Contract and Commercial LLC using the Sourcewell contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-878, to authorize purchases of vehicle warning lights, light bars, sirens, consoles, and accessories, discount off manufacturer's list price using Rockland County contracts.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-879, authorized purchase of waste and recycle equipment and containers with Waste Equip Manufacturing Company LLC using Sourcewell contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-880 to authorize the supervisor to execute a service agreement with Source Path Contemporary LLC.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-881, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara, to authorize the supervisor to sign a contract amendment with D&B Engineering and Architects, P.C., to address the New York State DEC additional requirements of the Brownfield Cleanup Program remedial site investigation for the Damascus landfill.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-882, co-sponsored by the entire board, to authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Source Path Contemporary for the Community Preservation Office network infrastructure upgrade.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 883 of 2025, authorize supervisor to sign contract extension for construction equipment and marina maintenance services with South Shore Docks Incorporated.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-884, to authorize the purchases of public safety communications equipment from Motorola Solutions, Inc.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-885, to authorize the supervisor to execute an intermunicipal agreement with the Riverhead Central School District as it relates to the Riverside Sewage Treatment Plant.
Second.
Second.
I'd like to be added to that, Cindy.
Yeah, myself too, please.
At the whole board.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Very important.
Town Board Resolution 2025-886, to authorize the supervisor to execute any and all documents with Optel Business Communication Systems, Inc., to provide hardware and software maintenance support for the town of Southampton phone system.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-887 to award and authorize the purchase of one 2025 Ford 550 Super Crew with a dump body from Otis Ford using NYS OGS contract for vehicle class 1-8 statewide. And this truck is for Walter.
Second.
For Walter up in North Sea, so I hope he takes good care of it.
I'm sure he
He's been
will.
waiting a long time.
All right, seconded
Thank
by
you, everyone.
Councilmember Martell. All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-888, co-sponsored by Councilmember Iacilli, which is the 2025 notice to bidders for the Southampton Animal Shelter sanitary system upgrade.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Cindy, could you add me to that, please?
Myself too.
Town Board Resolution 2025-889, to amend the 2025 adopted budget for the purchase of real property located at 133 West Montauk Highway, Hampton Bays, New York.
Second.
On the motion, I just want to reiterate, I voted against this when it was brought up at the end of the year. I did ask members of the board if we could take a look at this again, being that we are now looking at Jackson Avenue as potentially adding buildings there. We're doing that whole study. I just think that, this is a lot of money to expend here if we're looking at potentially moving services to Jackson Avenue. And that's it.
And I thank you for that. And it's true, we are looking at Jackson Avenue to redesign and see what we can do with the property, but that's going to be a long journey. We're just now meeting with the consultant, and if so, and then the time it takes to lay it out and then build is going to be many years. And if we no longer need the building at 133, we could always sell it. That's just my feeling on it.
I agree with her, the supervisor, because this board will never see Jackson Avenue, because at the time you get your permits and go through all the CEQA and design, it's many years. But one board has to start it
We do want to make sure we get that done.
for the future.
Take care of the courts.
We don't want the courts to keep on living in trailers.
Nope. All right, so, who seconded it? Did you get
I
a
did.
second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Cindy, I'm a no.
Town Board Resolution 2025-890 to amend the 2025-2029 capital budget for the Damascus landfill project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-891 to authorize the closure of certain capital projects.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-892, which is the warrant number 13, capital number 13, CPF number 13 of July 8th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-893. This is appointing Diane Chudley to the Disability Advisory Task Force.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-894 to authorize the town attorney to retain outside counsel, Sokolow Stern LLP, to represent the interests of the town as it relates to a litigation matter entitled Mendizabal Soto et al. Versus the town of Southampton et al.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 895 of 2025, co-sponsored by the entire board. Notice of adoption of a local law to rezone certain parcels from Highway Business HB to Village Business VB and Hamlet Commercial HC located on the north and south sides of Montauk Highway between Ponquag Avenue and intersection south of Old Riverhead Road in the hamlet of Hampton Bays.
On the motion?
Someone has to second.
First, and I'd like to say something.
Sure.
You want to second it?
Second.
Second.
On the motion, we did have a public hearing on this. It was open for a 2-week for public comment, which has closed. We did, and Janice Shera can attest to this, every business owner did receive a certified letter notifying them of the potential change of zone. To date, I have not received any negative comments from actual property owners. And, you know, I've heard in my 4 years on this board, time and time again, you know, residents of Hampton Bays saying that this area is not highway business. It never should have been highway business, and they've been looking for this change for a very long time. And I'm happy that we are finally, you know, the board that is moving forward with this.
On the motion, I want to just make sure that we're doing our due diligence. I support this measure. I think, you know, based on the work session that we had and the explanation provided by Ms. Shearer, it seems like it makes sense. However, I do want to just make sure we're doing our due diligence. 2 things stand out. Obviously, the comments made today by the property owner, I just want to make sure that there is adequate communication between the property owner and any other owners that may be concerned and the board, as well as, you know, when me, Councilman Martell, and Pell went to the Hampton Bays Civic, there were some questions from some of the Civic members about this, and I think it may require just a little bit more time just explaining exactly the implications of this zone change here. And I would just like, you know, the board to just make sure we're doing our due diligence, and maybe we can consider tabling it just one more cycle to just make sure that we've communicated to the right folks.
I will also say that we did send this out to Suffolk County Planning Commission, and we did receive a response back that it is for local determination, so.
Did you say you wanted to do something? And we did, and it is, you know, it's implementing the recommendations of the adopted Hampton Bays Corridor Strategic Plan and the associated generic environmental impact statement that was done. And I believe Councilwoman McNamara just said, to address your first concern, that certified mailings went out and were received by every property owner, and I think only maybe one responded, or I don't know who responded, but it was.
Councilman Martell can actually, beyond this zone, they were notified.
Yeah, the whole village business was notified, even down as far as beyond the diner to the businesses there. I know I got one from my shop in downtown. So.
Can't speak from there.
And, so everybody received it, and were given the 2-week opportunity to respond.
I'll speak from there if you want.
So I'd like to move forward.
All right.
This is not new. This has been around. This has been proposed many times before. I mean, this is just a board that's acting on the corridor study and the plan that's been put in place before. There's going to be other adjustments throughout town. I think this is long overdue.
We need a second. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry.
I would second.
One no?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, everyone's aye? Okay. Thank you.
Town Board Resolution 2025-896, co-sponsored with Councilman Martell. Accept a donation of a wireless translator device from Hampton Coffee Company to use for the Youth Bureau.
Awesome.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to just thank Tracy Colson really quick and Kara Back for their work on this. And the Youth Bureau. Go ahead, sorry.
Town Board Resolution 897 of 2025, co-sponsored with Councilman Iacilli. Cost reimbursement waiver for iTries Hampton's Youth Triathlon on July 12, 2025, from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., and practices on July 1st, July 2nd, and July 8th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 898 of 2025, waive showmobile fees for East Quogue Fire Department Annual Seafood and Beer Festival.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-899, the 2025 part-time salaries.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-900, to appoint Annette Rank to Assistant Senior Citizen Center Manager in Senior Services.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-901, to appoint Carl Hallfelder to Assistant Cook in Senior Services.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-902, to appoint David Chapnick to Senior Office Application Specialist in Information Technology.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-903, to appoint Diana Stulsky to Public Safety Dispatcher 1 in the Police Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 904 of 2025, attend MPTC Basic School Resource Officer course in Oneida County.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. That is, we are sending Police Officer Jessica Mendola to go to SRO training. So it's a great addition.
Town Board Resolution 2025-905, co-sponsored with Councilman Martell. This is to notice a public hearing to consider the use of CHF funds for the acquisition of 3 lots located at 47 Flanders Road in Riverside for affordable apartment units.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Remarkably, there's no walk-ons today. So there being no further business, I move to close the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.